morning internet, and welcome to the channel. Before we go any further, I'd just like to say a massive thank you for all those that are sticking with me. I know it's been a while since I've done anything, but things have had to change a little bit. We're in December, we're in the workshop, and the weather's pants, so the spraying's had to be put on hold. It's been a while since I've touched that tank for the 1000 RX, but I haven't forgotten about it. It is there. It's in the pipeline, which brings us on to the next thing that I want to talk about with you today. I've got an engine that I need to well, it's a bit of a state to be honest. Refurb, I suppose, clean up, service. It's out of a ZZR600 for all you ZZR600 fans out there. As you can see, we've got a ZZR600 frame. Okay, and this is the engine out of it, 600cc. It's an E model. I believe it's a 98. Round about, I believe it's round about 11,000 mile on it. Got it as a bit of a barn find. The engine, I've never run it. It looks clean, it looks complete. I drained the oil out, it was pretty good. So what we're going to do today is we're going to start pulling the covers off, tearing it down. As you can see by the front of the engine, looking under there, it's a bit scabby. So I thought what we'd do is, I see plenty of videos on YouTube of people painting engines and cleaning engines up, and what I thought I'd do, and I have done this before, is we'll strip it, check it out, see what's what, lick a paint, and see where we go from there. I do have all the bits and pieces to refurb on it. It's a toss-up between putting fresh casings on or refurbing these casings, because as you can see it's a bit scabby. But, well, we'll see how we go. Nothing's cast in stone at this point. I've got my gasket set and I've got a set of seals for it. There's no oil in it, as you can see. The oil level empty. We've taken the plugs out of the oil gallery. You can see down it there. Okay. We've had the sump plug out. Sump plug's still out. So it's definitely got no oil in it as such. However, we never know what we're going to find when we open these things up. As you can see, it's on a professional engine stand. I've not messed about with this one. Got the stand because I figured you can turn these engines upside down to do the top and the bottom without removing it from the stand, so I figured that was the best way of doing it. It's a Sealey item, pretty good. Yeah, for anybody that's interested, send me a message in the comments and I'll post you a link to it. Yeah, there we go. So we'll set the camera up, get the tools out, and off we go. Okay, so what I try to do is talk to you as we go, over the noise of the gun. We need to slacken everything off before I disturb the camshafts and the cam chain. Okay, top tip. Undoing the centre nut on your clutch, and quite often the bolts that are in the end of the crankshaft can often be quite tight. If you've got the cam chain floating around because you've already taken the head off and you're trying to disassemble this part of the engine, what you may find happens is you accidentally rotate the crankshaft. Well, rotating the crankshaft when the cam chain is floating about is not a good idea, because you could do some damage. So what I tend to do is, I tend to do the clutch first, the end of the crankshafts, and anything that's on the other side of the engine, water pump, etc., before I do the cylinder head. Then everything's disassembled and you don't have the danger of rotating the crankshaft, damaging the cam chain, damaging the aluminium housings, jamming the cam chain up by accidentally rotating the crankshaft. So that's a top tip for you. Okay then, here we go, clutch off. Going to loosen these a little bit at a time, doing the opposite ones, like that. Back to the beginning. quite a low mileage engine. Everything looks pretty clean inside. There's a tiny little bit of muck in the bottom of this housing, but it's not bad at all. Okay, so there's your 5 springs out. So now we've got to get pressure plate. Okay. Again, you can see there the oil. You can see there. It's hardly worn at all. It's lovely and shiny, that. Okay. Right, clutch plates. You'll notice here. Just want to point this out to you. Okay. You'll notice on the clutch on these bikes. Let's just zoom in a little bit there. You'll see the first plate is there, and the second plate is in the big slot. So when you put these together, you must make sure that that is in that. The last plate is put in that slot, and all the other plates go in that slot. Okay, don't make that mistake of dropping that in there. That's there for a reason. Okay, again, clutch plates look pretty good. Not bad at all then. Okay, so what we can do with this, take the first plate out, and I have, as if by magic, a clutch tool. And what you do is you pop that on there like that, and that locks. You're in a clutch with your outer clutch. As you can see, you can rotate it. Of course, the engine rotates basically. Right, what we need to do, we need to lock that off, because I need to undo that centre nut there. Trying to undo that, nightmare. Very tight. It's been on from factory. It looks like it's never been off, so it's probably been put on with an electric or a pneumatic gun. So what we're going to try and do, we're going to try and undo that. So we'll take the clutch push rod out first. That, by the way, runs against that bearing there. So it's crucial that bearing's in reasonable condition for those of you with older bikes, because if that bearing's not very good, it can become very noisy and ultimately fail, as bearings do. So what we need to do is we need to put that on there and lock it off. So what we need to do, I suppose, is I could lock it against there. Right, let's do that. Just trying to voice my thoughts out loud. So if we put that against there like that, when I turn that, that should lock against that bar there and prevent that from turning. So what we need to do now is we need a socket to fit there. 30 it is. Right, don't mess about with these. There is only one way to undo these. Cracking bar. That's tight, is that? I can assure you that is really, really, really tight. Okay, there we go. That was really tight. So the prospect of undoing that, start again. The prospect of undoing that centre nut without using that tool, and also the danger of rotating it while you've got your cam chain floating about, not good. So always undo that first. Right, let's get the ratchet and let's get that off. Centre nut off. Now we can remove our special tool and put that away. Right, now we should be able to get hold of that. There's a washer in the centre, don't lose that, like that. Gently pull that out and the whole clutch assembly comes out as one. Now you've got a washer behind there, you'll see. I've got hold of it with my other finger there. Okay, don't lose that. And that's your completed clutch assembly. Okay. So now you need to take that centre out of there now, because obviously here, I don't know if you can see that on the camera there, you can't get that cog past that aluminium housing. So what you have to do, you have to remove that centre. Okay, so to remove that centre you need a couple of bolts. Okay, so to remove that centre we have an M8 bolt. You'll notice that that's threaded. Just pop your bolt in there, in that threaded hole, like that. Okay, you see that on the camera? That's brilliant. Right, and then pull. And you see that centre comes out of there now, like that. Okay, now without that threaded hole you can't get that out. Okay, and now we've got enough space on the clutch drum to ease it sideways carefully without damaging that bush in the centre, and that is your completed clutch drum. Okay, so now you can see, we'll just remove the big splash washer from the back of it as well. There we go. Okay, so now you can see the components. The clutch is removed. We have the oil pump, we have the gear selector shaft there, that's the drum with the pawl. It's currently in neutral. You've got your, each cutout there represents a gear, so as that turns, that wheel drops into it and that selects your gear. There's your gear selector shaft. When you move your gear lever up and down, that moves that shaft, turns that drum and selects your gear. Right, so that's the clutch housing. Okay, the next thing we need to do is undo that bolt there, which holds this plate on. Can be notoriously tight. You've got a hex on there, so we'll put a spanner on that, like so. Being very careful not to damage this pickup coil here. If you damage that, it's a new one. You can't repair them. They're a sealed unit. Put your Allen key in there, get your spanner on there tight, and there we go. That wasn't actually as tight as I expected it to be. Now what I'm going to do is, I'm going to leave that on there. As you can see, it's slack. But I'm going to leave it on because I'm going to use that to rotate the engine when we come to take the head off. But now it's slack, it's fine. Okay, so what we need to do now is turn it round, get to the other side and see what there is on the other side.